in, ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You like that? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Hey, great job. Do better. Okay? Great job. Do better. Hey, the NCAA, an organization that could probably live off of this, even though I don't think the NCAA has gotten a lot of great jobs lately. When was the last time we said great job, NCAA?
I've never said it.
Kind of gave him a shout out for being consistent.
That's right. On the
Trez
Montrezl Walker thing.
Yeah.
We were the first group to be out here like, hey, can't have it both ways. Great job, NCAA. Do better. All right, we got some do better for you today. If you've been on Twitter, you've probably seen some of these. Here's the deal. This is a random sidebar. It's Twitter forever. I'm not going to be out here saying I X'd. I X'd today. No, I'm going to be out here saying I tweeted this today or I saw on Twitter. So, sorry, Elon. You don't own me, buddy. You might own Twitter, but you don't own me.
Still pops up as twitter.com.
You goddamn right.
Yeah,
it's
if you put
Twitter.
in x.com, it takes you something else.
Yeah, it will. That's a good point.
I've
Be
tried.
careful. Would not recommend trying.
Well, I mean,
know.
depends on what you're trying to do.
That's a good point. No king shaming around here. Anyways, the NCAA today, speaking of king shaming, took a rule or put in a rule where underclassmen and people on unofficial visits can no longer do the staged photo shoots. Okay? Now, this might seem like a rather stupid rule to a lot of people, and it might seem like, the NCAA always worried about the wrong stuff. I'm going to tell you what, I talked to a lot of college football coaches. This was a thorn in their side, man, for all offseason. They hate February through or January through July, all right? When all these kids are coming on campus, and look, it ain't nothing for the University of Georgia, the University of Alabama, or Arizona, or whoever the hell it is that is hosting a five-star that day. It ain't nothing for them to open up the equipment room and get the photographer over there and get the equipment staff all set up and get the social media interns and team. It ain't nothing for those guys to bring those guys over and get them ready for that 4 or 5 stars, commitment photo visit or photo shoot or whatever visit photos they want to take. The problem had become, nowadays, it ain't just, Johnny Wilson, the 5-star coming through. Okay, it's Johnny Wilson, the 5-star, and all 20 of his 7-on-7 teammates. And now we got a 2-hour photo shoot for, I don't know, the Nitro crew out of, bumfuck wherever. All right, whatever 7-on-7 team's there because one of their players is good. Now we got to do all of this stuff for all of these guys. So you know what coaches said? Coaches said, I am done. I am done with this rat race of photo shoots at visits, getting freaking Lamborghinis out on your field to have photo shoots taken, right? So here's how this works. Coaches complain, the NCAA addresses it. Then coaches complain about how the NCAA addressed it. And it's just the way the business goes. That's the way this cycle works. And again, it wasn't about the 5-star coming through and taking the photos. It was about the monstrosity that this had become.
5-star's dad.
Oh yeah, 5-star's dad.
Picture?
Oh dude, I'm gonna miss those types of photos. But yeah, I do remember the Florida dad. I saw a Penn State dad today that I'd never recognized that went. He didn't go as viral, but he was out here in the uniform, which would be just absolutely embarrassing. I almost judge the kid as much as I do the dad in that scenario. Like, how can you not look at your dad and say, get your ass out of here?
I think you have to just judge the kid because the dad's probably like, all right, this is what my son wants me to do.
I mean, shit, most of these dads, that was their whole mission anyways, to get their kid to Division I football. So they're living their dream.
So as long as it was
vicarious.
If it was the kid pushing it, then it's the kid's fault. But if it was like the dad was like, hey, let me put one of them things on too.
Hey, real talk, you know who this hurts?
The dads?
No.
Graphics.
Graphic
crews.
Yeah.
Graphic crews are in shambles today. This was their whole business.
Yeah.
Their whole business was taking photos from photo shoots and making new edits off of them. That was their whole business in the recruiting edits department. And now they're going to have to, they're going to have to do some work. And the work is jersey swaps. And I don't know if you've ever done a jersey swap.
They're hard.
It ain't easy.
No.
Okay, so the folks out here that are about to pivot and get into these jersey swaps, we're about to find out how talented y'all are. So that's going to be
Who's the
cool.
top dog?
Huh?
I said we're going to find out who the top dog
Hey,
is.
amen on that. We're going to find out who's an actual graphic designer, not someone who can just slap some edits together. And there's a whole bunch of the Instagram accounts that slap edits together. You know what they're going to do now? They're going to steal my photos at a higher rate than they ever have. And I love you guys. I really do. The Georgia accounts that steal from me, y'all are all great and y'all are all good people. And most of you are Patreon subscribers, so I know y'all are probably watching this. Just like a tag every once in a while. That's all. Just don't just rip
Start
it.
using watermarks.
See, I hate doing that because I want the kids to enjoy. I want the athlete to enjoy the photo. I want them to enjoy having it. I want them to be able to post it. And I'm not a professional photographer. I'm just a professional media personality who I would hope you would respect enough to give some credit for when I go to do those things. But no, I'm not slapping big ass watermarks. I had to start putting watermarks on some of my photos, but if you look at it, it's very, very minuscule. It's in the bottom right hand corner. It's way off out there, right? But nah, man, I don't like it. But who am I? The guy who creates content on the internet's upset about his internet content getting stolen. Get the fuck over it, buddy. That's the life. That's like what we live in. But yeah, no, it hurts us as well. Because the first thing I do when I write a recruiting article is I go look for visit photos.
Go on Instagram, find that visit photo.
Which it won't be as big of an impact to us because of what I do during the spring. There ain't a kid in the state of Georgia I don't see. And now I'll just take more and more photos than I ever have before. So, shouts out to the Instagram game out there, all y'all folks in the UGA Instagram fan page. I love you. Give me some tags. That's all I ask for. Give me some tags. Because I do need to bump up my IG game.
I'm trying.
I need to bump up my Twitter game.
I think when you need a different play, because I think Twitter eventually, if I've noticed anything about that business, it's either A, too big to fail, or B, it's already on fire and it's fitting to burn. Okay, so that's it. It's one or the other, and I'm leaning towards it's on fire and it's fitting to burn because it's slowly deteriorating. So if you're gonna build a platform, build it elsewhere. Don't be pouring into Twitter if Twitter ain't caught. Sorry to give you all the life advice here on NBR. We got way too much to be talking about on tonight's show to just be talking about industry standards here. Welcome into tonight's show. We do have a loaded one for you. We have What If Wednesday. We're going to talk about what in the hell do we do with Texas A&M's defense as they have a massive football game this weekend against Alabama. Must wins on Saturday's slate. We're going to talk about who are we not talking about enough. So we're going to talk about the people who we aren't talking about tonight. I'm going to give you some film observations off the rip. We got some sneaky good football teams I want to talk about, and we are going to give you some SEC quarterback rankings. It's a slap-loaded show tonight. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like and subscribe, and rate and review it. Make sure you're also heading over to prizepicks.com, promo code Brooks for that 100% deposit match. We got Thursday Night Football coming up. We got Flex Friday coming up. We got Saturday college football coming up. We got Sunday NFL football coming up. We got Monday NFL football coming up. There's a bunch of stuff for you to get in over there.
Tuesday.
Huh?
Left out Taco Tuesday.
And we got Taco Tuesday if you're into, I think we have 48 days of some type of organized football being played on national
There's college
television.
football on tonight. There's 2 games.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's like 48 straight days of legit professional and college football going on. So, hey, just straight mainlining that college football.
Whoa.
The face right there. Should I just do it that way, or was the finger too much?
The finger was a little crazy.
Dude, I can barely breathe throughout my nose normally. There's no chance I could ever do that.
Gosh.
I could never. I never understood it.
I've heard it opens you up.
I've never understood it at all. Especially for a person like me. Like, dude, I'm already high strung. I am all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't need that shit.
No.
No, don't do that.
But I do need to mainline some football, and we finna do that the next 48 days. So shouts out to that. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and heading over to PrizePicks. I'm sure PrizePicks loves that read every single night when we bust it out.
Tell them to send you a DM.
No spookers. Hey, let's talk about Michigan. I think Nebraska, that's the tape I watched this morning, that Nebraska tape. Nebraska's got 5 big, ugly, unathletic corn eaters on that offensive line. They are not good. Okay, don't get me wrong. They are big, fat, slow, and ugly. All right, except for the right tackle, who's just big, slow, and ugly. Okay, he ain't fat. He's too thin. But he is big, slow, and ugly. They are a big, slow, and ugly unit. So take this with a grain of salt. But damn if Michigan's defensive line don't strike and shed blocks. Okay, I went last night, and because we did the All-22 for Kentucky this morning over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. And I went from watching that Florida defense strike and try to shed blocks against that Kentucky offense last week, in which they gave up 320 yards rushing. And then I turned on Michigan tape. I don't even know how to explain how different those two defenses were attacking the line of scrimmage. Michigan has a bunch of NFL-looking football players on that front 7, and they play extremely well coached. I mean, it is hand placement and hip rolls on all three positions and the edge player across the board every single snap. So what it told me watching that film and just the physicality of that line of scrimmage play from them defensively, I'm not even talking about them offensively. They're going to try to make teams like Ohio State and Penn State, the ones that matter on their schedule, they're going to try to make them really, really quarterback dependent and like very, very, one-dimensional, if you will. They're going to take away run games, okay? Very quickly and very early on in the football game, you're going to feel constipated and stagnant on the offensive side of the football trying to run against Michigan. So I look at not JJ McCarthy, I look at Kyle McCord, and I look at Drew Aller. I look at Drew Aller, and I say, hey, those two football games are going to come down to quarterback play. Can you guys play NFL quarterback against what looks to be like one of the very few top to bottom NFL football defenses in this conference or in this league, if you will, in college football this year?
Mm-hmm. I think that's just kind of the brand that Michigan has tried to establish, or really has established. I think that's why they've been able to get Ohio State the last 2 years, is that defense, and then also they complement that with run it down your throat on the offensive side of the football. And it's basically like we just are daring anybody to try and survive 4 quarters against us.
I could be wrong, but when I studied them, last year, and I really looked through their roster and looked at the defensive line, especially the year before, he recruits the Southeast a lot on the defensive side of the football, in the box, box players, linebackers, defensive linemen, defensive tackles, defensive ends. He recruits the Southeast really, really hard at that position. I think it's why they look and feel like an SEC football team defensively when you watch them. Again, the way they strike and shed blocks, it's unlike Ohio State's defense. Ohio State's defense has always felt to me like a flashy version of an NFL team where they're going to let individual players have success. They're going to let individual players get upfield. They're going to let individual players get after the quarterback. They're going to let linebackers just kind of free flow and do whatever they want. It's never been a real structurally sound defense. It's always been skill-based. It's why, despite the fact that in years past they haven't had statistically great defenses, they've had first-round draft picks, okay, at a multitude of positions. They've had first-round corners. They've had first-round safeties. They've had first-round defensive ends for damn sure, okay? But you don't really see them in that top 10 echelon of defenses because they're not what Michigan looks to be like and what Ohio State is turning into now, which is a very gap-sound and physically dominant football team at the line of scrimmage. And that's what Michigan is to me this season. All right, let's talk about Texas. We talked about Texas offensively yesterday. I want to talk about them defensively today. It's really fun at this point in my career to actually have like a database now, or not. I don't actually track the data. I don't track the opinions, but I remember, right? I have a mental database of some of these football players that are now sophomores and juniors and freshmen, even in the college ranks that are making impacts on Saturdays. I remember having evaluated them in high school, right? Like I remember last year looking at the blue chippers on this Texas roster. I remember watching tape on Anthony Hill and thinking just how explosive he was, right? I remember looking at Ethan Burke's high school tape out of Westlake High School out there in Dallas, Texas, right? I remember how dominant and how highly I thought of Jalen Catalon when he was at Arkansas, right? So the longer I do this, the more and more I have respect for the rosters that I watch. And when I get to see them on tape, I'm like, oh, damn, 91. I remember, who is that? He's got Burke on his. Is that who I? Yep. You look him up, 6'6", 250-pound defensive end that, played with Cade Klubnik on that Westlake team. That's like dominant edge rusher that was always popping on tape. And then you look at Anthony Hill, and he's explosive, right? What I'm trying to explain to you is that Texas, and they've always had these things, but Texas, when I watch them on tape now defensively, they have blue chippers everywhere. Okay, and it's not just, the first 3 guys or the first 11 on the 2 deep is a bunch of upperclassmen. It's a bunch of guys who played Big 12 football for a long time. It's kind of guys that Steve Sarkisian has inherited that were blue chippers just because Texas recruits blue chippers. And then you look at the freshmen that are on the roster, and they're all top 150, top 50 players overall that he recruited to Texas. So the rosters defensively have become much better for Texas, and when you watch it on tape, they play much faster, they play hard, they play physical, they're good tacklers, and on top of that, they have a first-round draft pick. Okay, I think Devondre Sweat is a first-round defensive tackle or nose tackle projection. At 6'6", 350 pounds, he not only shows tape and has tape of just absolute pure dominance in the run game, he's got upside as a pass rusher too. So, guys, we talked about it earlier in the year, the kind of recipe and the requirements to be a national title contender, right? And one of those was you've got to have a first-round draft pick defensively or be capable of having such defensively. And Texas checks that box on top of all the other ones that they check. So,
yeah, I think that's what makes Texas such a big threat right now and what poses them as like the biggest threat. It was what seemed like people are saying about Texas is because they do check every single box that is required for you to win a national title this year. And they're doing it consistently, and they look to be the most dominating team almost in all of college football right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you don't see from Texas as in recent past, but it looks like they've somewhat figured it out now. Again, can they be consistent? Something they've never been. So that's the big question here.
I was just looking at the screen and y'all's screen. That black wall is getting a little dry for me. I had a company reach out to me about posters that are affiliated with college football programs. Might have to put one of them behind you guys.
Yeah.
It's like
Where'd you hang it?
It's like a 24 by 18. I don't know. We'll just maybe put a couple of them up there.
Yeah, I would like that. I like it because I got some dope black T-shirts, and I just don't want to look like a floating head wearing them back here.
Well, no, black's a non-option nowadays. And you know what? I regret that decision because as a larger individual, black is very slimming on camera, and now we can't wear black. So it's my bad. But you know what? You know what else? You know what I've thought about this? And this is me, not you. This is me. You want to wear black because it's dope. I want to wear black because it makes me look less fat. Now when I look at like me on camera, it can't be, all right, well, you got to change your clothes to look less fat. You just got to be less fat. That's what I am telling myself. You know what? Great job, do better kind of deal. If you want to stop looking fat on camera, don't be fat. So that's where I'm at. I don't know how we got there, but Texas's defense is good.
Yes, it is good.
Texas's defense is really good. I have found that this NBR hour is much less structured, and I like this one a little bit more in terms of like we get to freely riff and we get to have fun. And apparently you guys like this. You guys like to laugh. You guys like to have fun because you know how I know that? These numbers in terms of total viewers aren't as high, but we talked about this last week. The retention rate on this is very, very sticky. You guys love you some NBR, some national content, so we love you for loving it. I watched Bama this morning. Only watched Bama's offense. I watched Bama's defense last week, and I walked away thinking, yep, that's Bama. That looks like Bama. They big, they fast, they physical. They got a linebacker number 41. I forget his name, but I remember covering him coming out of Duncanville. He looked like he was 35 in high school. I mean, look him up, okay? Look up the roster, number 41, okay, Jay Will. And then I want you to find high school photos of this individual, and I want to see your face. I want everyone to kind of have this certain reaction. Give me his name once you find him. Anyways, Alabama's defense, big, physical, fast. They got an evolutionary player. They got a great, not a good, a great football player at every single level of their defense. And that's important. We've always talked about that defensively. So they are who they are defensively. I'm done studying them from that standpoint. I know they're good. Now, offensively, The offensive line, you got his name?
Kendrick Blackshire.
Kendrick Blackshire. Now, start Googling Kendrick Blackshire Duncanville. Go look at some high school photos.
He's also number 40, not 41.
My bad. Go look at some photos of Mans. Cause
I got him ISO'd. I want to see this.
Huh? You got him ISO'd? Yeah. Show your laptop. Turn your laptop around to the YouTube audience.
I want to zoom in.
Yeah, you want to get a good one?
Yeah.
This is what freaks look like, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 17-year-old kid in this photo that we're about to show you. Do we have it?
I'm trying to get it bigger.
Anyways, they are who they've always been defensively, offensive line-wise in the run game. They are what they were sold to be. The problem is they get very, very one-dimensional very, very quickly. They start seeing loaded boxes. But the main problem with this is that they have a one-read quarterback. I was texting the guys today. He's almost like Mohamed Sanu, okay, is Jalen Milroe or Julian Edelman.
As a quarterback?
And here's why. Okay, do y'all remember, or have y'all ever been in a room where coach puts in a wide receiver pass or coach puts in a running back pass? The number one thing the offensive coordinator will tell him, or that person, or that receiver, or that running back, he will say this right here. If he's not wide open, just take off and run. That's what they tell him. Don't look off the read. If that guy is not open, take off and run. It's the first thing they tell him. Jalen Milroe is that now. I would tell him that. I would walk in the room. I'd say, all right, we're going to run 3-man concepts. That's it. The whole play. And when we call this play midway through the first quarter, okay, on our second drive, third drive, if Jermaine Burton, if Ja'Cory Brooks, if Isaiah Bond is not naked running down the middle of the field, tuck the ball and run. Don't even look for a secondary read. That's how I would run offense. Because, guys, when I watch them, it's not just, there is a couple of left tackle got beat. Right tackle got beat. Okay, they sent 5 and we lost the one-on-one sort. There's some of those. They're 118th, I think, in the country in sacks allowed. They're bottom 100, okay, in sacks allowed. I'm going to go out on a limb and say half of those are probably on the quarterback for holding the ball too long, or probably on the quarterback for evading the pocket too early, or probably on the quarterback for running into a rusher. Okay, so I would turn what is a negative into a positive for this quarterback. I would tell him, hey, if he's not wide open, tuck it and run. Let's go right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what you should have always done with Jalen Milroe. If you ever expected him to be a processor or someone who goes through reads, you were set up for failure anyways. I don't know what the system in Alabama requires you to do. I feel like Bryce Young was pretty good at doing that, but saying –
Well, from my understanding, well, not to cut you off, but studying them over years, the system is based off a little, like the deep shots at least, are based off of a little bit of a play action and everything running across the field. Everything is runners. Okay, so you don't only have to read or throw balls, with progression and with pace against man coverage, but against zone coverage, we have to throw with pacing and timing and we have to be able to know all right, if we're going to hit that dig into the second window, we've got to be there off the 5th step off of a hitch, right? We have to play within a timing of those things to work. So I think that's maybe some of the issue where I know it is, in fact. I watched a clip today where they're trying to run essentially a big boy comeback. They're trying to run a 20-yard comeback on 3rd and 12. And it ends up into a comeback, but it's really a vertical seam that gets set down on the safety at 25 yards. You see what I'm saying? But because you're not just going to run into the safety against cover 3. But anyways, the ball should have been thrown as he clears the underneath defender. We got to throw it underneath the safety and over the underneath defender. And those are quarterback plays that he's probably not going to be able to do. Okay, so what that tells me is that Bama is going to have to literally run their way to the SEC championship game. If they're going to win the SEC West, they're going to have to literally run through teams. So I asked you today, Jay Will, who on their schedule will give them an issue with this game plan? And the way we look at this is yards allowed per carry. Who in the SEC on Alabama's schedule is going to be able to look them in the face and say, oh, you want to run the ball 45 times today? Okay, well, let's see how that goes for you, Bubba. Who are these two football teams? Because there are some on the schedule, right?
Yeah, Texas A&M was the first one that came up, so this week going to be a big test for them. And then surprisingly, later on in the schedule, they play Kentucky. Kentucky is going to be one of those football teams as well. I have the stats. I'll get them pulled up real quick.
I printed them. I got them right here. Okay. Texas A&M's allowing, this is pretty staggering, 2.88 yards per carry 96 yards per game. They're 17th in the yards per carry stat, 21st in yards per game. You're right. It's Kentucky that's really, really elite. So Kentucky's only allowing 75 yards per game. This reads like Georgia in years past. They're 8th in yards per carry at 2.54, and they're 2nd in the nation in rushing yards allowed on first down. Where'd you find these stats?
I got a source.
That's my boy right there. That's it right there. Don't do that shit. Where you get your all 22, don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
You just ask me and I'll find them.
Yeah, amen, brother. I like that right there. No, those two football teams, basically, if you can put Alabama in a box this year, they're going to have trouble.
And both of those games are on the road. Yep.
Row.
Got to go to Lexington.
That's another one that, like, home field advantage.
Sorry, cut you. When is that game?
It's like this. It's middle November, like November 11th.
So it's gonna be very similar to that Georgia game last year.
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold. There's a good chance it'd be freaking cold that game.
Oh, that road game to Kentucky for them?
Yeah, it's like November 11th.
Here's what I was thinking watching that Florida game, because like Florida was everything but non-physical against Tennessee when I turned that tape on. Like I was like, shit, look at these dudes. I even tweeted about it, or I X'd about it. It's just so gross.
Don't say that.
I tweeted about it, and I think the difference is for some younger football teams, that ability to fire off the football and have that extra juice on the road, it ain't there. So that initial strike and that initial setback, that's how run games are created or nullified. Who's getting push or who's getting leverage at the line of scrimmage, and that juice off the ball as a home team is definitely an impact for a lot of these football teams on the road. So let's talk about this. It brings us to A&M. Are we just to assume that A&M had problems with Miami because Miami's a good passing offense and Texas A&M hasn't played anything worth of a passing offense since?
Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
I think that's real.
The last 2 weeks they've had, borderline, not historic, but they've had incredible defensive performance.
Yes.
If you had to talk about one area of Texas A&M's defense that's bad, it's their secondary. Mm-hmm. And that goes right in hand with Miami has a very good passing game, was able to expose that secondary. If you go back and watch that Miami game, Miami kind of threw the ball at will over him. There wasn't as much that they ran on him. You never said, wow, Miami's just marching down the field. It was more with passes and busted plays and broken tackles. So that's what you're going to see against A&M. Mm-hmm.
So, we're seeing a clash of styles, essentially, this weekend.
Styles make fights.
Styles make fights. I think we have an opportunity here for Texas A&M to maybe make a statement. But then again, they was out here talking shit in the press conferences. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Who was this, by the way? His brother, his older brother, must have played at Alabama. Who?
Anais Johnson, I believe, is his name.
Is it Anais Smith? You mean?
Anais Smith. Yeah.
Okay, so Anais Smith said that.
Yeah.
That's a veteran out here talking shit.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Anais Smith was out here. I guess Anais' brother must have played at Alabama because the quote was, "When my brother was there, they was nice." When my brother was there, they like Nick Saban wasn't putting up with this standard, and they definitely ain't the standard that they are now. And hey, that ain't necessarily the best thing to be saying the week of an Alabama football.
You know
game.
who his brother was?
Who?
Maurice Smith.
Oh,
and then he transferred to Georgia.
Yeah, that's right.
That's who his brother is.
Dang, what was Georgia doing on that recruitment?
I don't know.
I'm sure it was a Kirby Smart thing.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna
look up Anais Smith.
I don't think Mo Smith was super high on the depth chart.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
He was a graduate transfer, and Kirby Smart basically said, hey, you come here to Georgia, you'll get a lot of playing time to get NFL looks, and I think that's what happened. He ended up being their best corner that year. So.
Anais Smith was a miss by the entire industry. That ain't no 3-star. Anais Smith has not played like the 780th player overall in the country. Yeah. That's nuts.
Do you have any other teams you want to go over? Because this kind of perfectly leads into What If Wednesday.
No, I was flat out wrong, but I have a segment about being flat out wrong. I like saying when I'm flat out wrong, but let's do What If Wednesday. I like when things roll better.
The first one I have from What If Wednesday is, what if A&M just beats Bama? Because do you have to look at Jimbo Fisher? Do you have to unbury Jimbo Fisher so you can bury Nick Saban, basically?
No. I'm done. I'm done with Jimbo.
Okay.
And I'm never coming back. I ain't never coming back. I can't. I just. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a me thing. He may shut me up. He may win a bunch of titles and all that. He's more dislikable to me than Dabo Swinney.
Oh, for sure. But
for me, because I can't do all the. Ugh.
But they will be in the driver's seat of the West at that point. They'll be undefeated in the SEC. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're at that point, they're going to be legit playoff contenders. I don't think that lasts like that. But on the same token, I think this would be more consequential to Bama because, like you said, all this Anaya Smith talking shit things, these are the type of games where Bama comes out and just stomps a mud hole in you. Like 5 years ago, if you saw that, you'd be like, oh, well, Bama's going to win by 30 now because Anaya Smith was talking shit. If Bama doesn't win this game, I think that's such an indictment, and it really, again, it shows how far this dynasty's fallen. Where people, one, they don't respect Bama or fear him anymore because you have people coming out and openly saying that. But if they don't win this game and prove and back it up, what do you do as a program?
Straight up grave game.
It is, dude.
It's the grave game
the grave
for us
game.
right here. You got dirt on Saban, I got dirt on Jimbo. It's the grave game out there at Kyle Field this weekend.
But yeah, that's my what if.
No, so what if that happens? What if Texas A&M controls them? I think the narrative for me, from Alabama's perspective, is I have a hard time believing anyone's a national championship contender without quarterback play anymore. I just can't do it. I can't, and I think this was my analysis earlier in the year. It's like if you don't have a dude at that spot, it's impossible. It's borderline impossible. You just have to be historically great defensively, right, is what we said, or just okay enough at the quarterback position to rectify that. And they're not that. So I'm throwing dust, not dirt. I'm throwing dust on the Bama bandwagon until they have sustainable quarterback play, which they don't have that right now. 10 of 12 last week for $160. And I'm telling you right now, I left with more questions about Jalen Milroe's ability than anything else.
I don't even know if you have to have, like, elite or good quarterback play. I think you just have to have someone who can manage a football game. And Jalen Milroe isn't that. Like, Jalen Milroe isn't going to be your 70% completion guy where he kind of just gets guys open, things like that.
He can't Jake Fromm his way to a national title
Right.
game.
He's a boomer bust guy, and I think he's going to bust a lot more than shit.
No, a boomer bust guy, and he's busting.
Facts.
A lot.
I caught myself there. That was almost
I don't
bad.
think you did. I think you should just roll right through
It
it.
was almost bad.
Look, man, we talk football around here, and we might get a little sus every once in a while. Dude, it's 9:35, and my son's still awake. That's a text message I got. Man's finna get a stern talking to after this. You know, I thought I was going to be one of those dads that was like, you know, kind of like my dad, hard ass. I'm not that. I ain't even going to lie to you. I fake cry with my son. I think I told y'all about this.
Yeah.
That's fun. I like showing emotion with my kids. I think it makes me more human. So, yeah. Anyways, any more what ifs? I know you got more what ifs.
I've got a few. What do you do?
What if Ohio State wins against Maryland, but they give up 35 points? So, like, say they win 49-35. Because the whole thing about Ohio State right now has been the defense looks really, really good. It looks top tier good for Ohio State. So what if they come to this game? You still win. So, like, we're not putting a loss in the L column or anything like that. But you get 35 points or, like, 42 points hung on your dome by Tagovailoa and the Terps.
This is no longer a tough team.
Dude, Lou Holtz is going to have so much shit for that. I honestly hope Maryland wins now, just so I can see Lou Holtz dunk on Ryan.
Told you were soft. Soft-ass football team. S-A-F-T. Soft. There's a W in there somewhere.
Soft.
What's the W? What if that happens? I think when is Talia Tagovailoa going to start getting some NFL love?
I think this is his last year, so he's got to.
It is. That's what I'm saying. But, like, Talia, if he really got offered multiple millions of dollars to play the SEC this year, he is just, whoever is advising him is just slap ignorant.
He'd be the best quarterback of the conference right now.
Bro, him passing up, let's say it's $1 million. Him passing him $1 million, he just passed up his career earnings in the NFL.
No.
Dude, that's 3 years league minimum.
$1 million is
Do you think, where is Talia Tagovailoa getting drafted?
Career earnings in NFL?
He talked about making $2 million in a singular season. this offseason. Him making $2 million in the NFL means he basically is a 5th-round draft pick and he made 3 years. Is that, like, if I told you that was his career,
No.
you're guaranteeing better than that?
Stetson Bennett was a 4th-round draft pick and he got $1 million this year. He signed a $4 million deal.
Okay, and he's basically on league minimum the next. NFL contracts are signing bonus based. The salaries are not, the rookie salaries are not high.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's super high, but I'm still like, he'll make more than that. Either way, irrelevant conversation.
If I told you he passed up a large portion of his potential NFL career earnings, you would agree?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't think he did.
I think he did. I don't think Talia, I could be wrong, but I don't think Talia is some 12-year NFL guy.
No, I don't think he got that offer is what I'm saying. I don't think he passed it up because it never existed.
It was cap.
Turk for life.
Why would you cap about something like that?
I don't know.
I don't either. No, what if that happens? Ohio State's defense had a slip up. Ohio State defense, back to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Maryland strikes me as a team that if they do that, they're going to have to do it through the air. And I don't know if they can protect long enough to do that. We got any more?
Yeah, I got one. What if USC has a close game with Arizona? Because I feel like this has a lot of effects on it. Because does it make Washington look better? Does it make USC like, they're not even – does it put them out of the top 10 maybe? And do you give Arizona respect? Because Arizona's kind of looked at as a shitty football team. But if you go up against 2 top 10 teams and give them fights back to back.
Arizona's head football coach, do you know his name?
No.
Jed Fish.
I did know that. I couldn't pull off the top of my head.
Jed Fish. Not a terribly coached football team is Arizona. They just don't have a bunch of dudes.
Nope.
Even though they do have
Flo?
No, our boy, our defensive tackle. They got Bill. Oh, Bill Norton.
Oh,
that's right.
Bill Norton's
Bill
an
Norton.
Arizona
I forgot
Wildcat.
about that.
Shout out Bill Norton.
Bill Norton out here in a single digit for the Arizona Wildcats, I'm pretty sure, last time I checked. I'll tell you a story about an Arizona football player after the show. It doesn't make me look too great. From high school. It's just not great. Which wasn't that long ago. It's crazy. Only like 10 years. But anyways, Arizona, what would happen? I think a lot of it's going to be a late night football game, isn't that?
Probably Pac-12 after dark.
Pac-12 after dark kind of deal. I think we do start to give Arizona a lot more credit until we look at that schedule and see that they beat Stanford by 1, and then I'm throwing all the credit out the window. They have to be like I said, I think that's the best description of Arizona. They are a good to well-coached football team with B- to C- Power 5 football players right now. So I don't know if he's ever going to recruit well enough to outperform football teams like that, but no, I don't know. Any more?
What if LSU drums Missouri on the road, like beats them by 17, 24 points? Is the takeaway that Missouri finally got what was coming for them, or is that a significant win for Brian Kelly and the Tigers, and that kind of keeps them
I think you
on
took
track?
this one the wrong way. In all honesty, LSU is a must-win football team for me this week.
Yeah.
I think the what if Missouri scores 50 on them and beats them, and all of a sudden LSU is a 3-loss football team 6 games into the football season. And this was a football team that most people had national title expectations.
People thought they were going to win the West.
Bro, if they get drummed up by Missouri, this might be crazy, but there's going to be LSU fans out here talking about firing Brian Kelly.
For sure.
You watch, okay? But
they were talking about firing him after he lost to Florida State.
I know, but here's the main thing. And as football coaches, particularly ones that don't have national titles, we only have so many scapegoats. What do I mean by that? Okay, we have one bad season, we get to blame it on one coordinator. We get to fire a DC, right? That's it. That's one though, okay? We start getting to the second scapegoat, okay? By the time the third scapegoat comes around, guess who it is? It's your head getting chopped off, all right? You're the guy fired. So the what if that's on the line this weekend, it might not be Brian Kelly's job, but it's one of Brian Kelly's strikes. If LSU loses this weekend and loses in the fashion that they've been losing, which is giving up 700 yards of total offense, which, by the way, very plausible this weekend. Missouri, Brady Cook, and Eli Drinkowitz and Luther Burden, them boys playing football offensively. Say what you want defensively. They are putting it up offensively. So LSU, Brian Kelly, what's at stake this weekend? What if? What if is a scapegoat this weekend? Someone's getting fired this weekend, all right, if y'all lose in the way that y'all have been losing, which, again, very plausible, very, very plausible that Missouri might hang up 45, 50 points on LSU this weekend. And, again, DC, I don't even know who the DC is, but he finna get fired if they give up 50 points.
Yeah, no doubt.
You want to keep going with this?
Yeah, I like what if.
All right. What if Texas loses a very close game to Oklahoma?
This is another one. This is a what if that I actually wrote down. What do you do with that? What do you do if Oklahoma and Texas come down to a one score, like not one team race back, none of that. I'm talking about blow for blow all game. Dudes are just doing this, pop, 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 pop. And at the end, it's one of those games where it's like, damn, I don't feel like anybody should have had to have lost that football game. It's a shame that someone had to lose that football game. To be honest with you, I don't know what we do with that. I don't know what the national narrative will be because we kind of had this with Duke and Notre Dame, but we didn't really have this with Duke and Notre Dame because it's Duke, right? We kind of had this with Ohio State and Notre Dame, but we didn't really have it with those football teams because, well, they have remaining schedules that will kind of handle this discussion for us, and we'll be able to decipher that. If these two teams split, go 1-1 in really, really tight football games, both this weekend and in a potential Big 12 matchup, I don't know. I don't know what you do with them because this is where I was wrong. I meant to talk about this earlier. I was flat out wrong. Do y'all remember what I said last night? I said Texas is the far better team on paper, right?
Yeah,
Talent-wise.
they're not.
They're not at all.
Oklahoma has a higher blue chip ratio.
Not slightly. I think Texas is a little bit higher than them. They're identical. It's 70%. I looked it up today. But here's the data on it. Look, Oklahoma has a higher recruiting ranking right now in 2024. In 2023, Texas finished third. Oklahoma finished fifth. Ain't much of a difference there.
That's a 4-star.
Yeah, it's one player. In 2022, Texas finished fifth. OU finished seventh. Again, that's one player. In 2021, OU finished 10th. Texas finished 15th. That was during the transition of head football coaches. In 2020, Texas finished 8th. OU finished 13th. That was their transition of head football coaches. Texas finished 3rd in 2019. OU finished 6th. They're relatively even when it comes to their recruiting talent and their quote-unquote blue chip ratio and how many NFL football players they have on their football team. This is a very, very even matchup, which makes me wonder, like, no way Dylan Gabriel's worth 49 points. Texas beat the shit out of Oklahoma last year. Yeah. I mean, just put them in a stranglehold offensively. I think Oklahoma had 140 total yards of offense last year in this football game. So when I looked at the recruiting rankings, when I looked at the rosters, when I looked at the talent disparity, I was like, it made last year's game far more confusing than anything else. It didn't make me feel any different about this year's game. It made me look there and go, damn, their backup quarterback situation must have been that bad last year. You know?
I don't know if you can all blame that on the quarterback. You can also put it on you're in a new system defensively. You got a lot of guys that don't know what they're doing. I mean, you were coached by Lincoln Riley. Defense was optional before Brent Venables got there. So I think that's kind of the things that you have to take into consideration. I mean, look at the turnaround Georgia had from 2016 to 2017.
Yeah.
Georgia had a lot of the same contributors that they did in 2017, but the outcomes were so much different. That's just because people were understanding the system better. So I think that's what you're seeing with Oklahoma.
Yeah, some second-year growth.
Yep.
And I think there was also I read an article last year that said that he basically wasn't as involved with the defense because he was doing CEO stuff last year. He was kind of getting the whole culture and everything settled and kind of handed it off, to his defense coordinator, and now has kind of really taken over with the installs and getting things right? Handling the details, which defense is details. Defense is in the details for me. So, yeah, I was flat out wrong. I went back and looked at it today, and I love telling you when I'm wrong. I went back and looked at it today. They are about as even can be when it comes to that. Hey, who are some football teams that have must-wins this weekend, guys? Because I got one that might shock you.
Go ahead and list yours then.
You want mine?
I want to be shocked.
I think it's a must-win convincingly for UGA this weekend.
Yeah, I have them on my list.
I think it's about time that Georgia – I expect them to win this football game. I think it's about time Georgia shows that they can handle folks like they've been handling folks. All right, I went back and looked at it today. In 2022, last year, it was the Oregon game. It was the South Carolina game. The year before that, in 2021, I think it was the Arkansas game for me. Y'all beat them 37-0 at home. They're the number 9th ranked team in the country, and Stetson Bennett only has 11 pass attempts. That was hey, guess what? We are about that. We are them this year. Y'all haven't had one of those. I haven't seen one of those. It is a must-win convincingly week this week for the University of Georgia because if they want to shut people up, and not that they care, they're going to act like they don't care. But it's getting loud. There are some people out here that are just already throwing it by the wayside, and they don't really have good reasonings behind it because they don't know. They're just looking at scores. So if you want this self-doubt or if you want this outside narrative doubt to shut up, go handle business this weekend like you're supposed to, like a nationally ranked, top-ranked football team does. Go beat LSU or go beat Kentucky by 28 this weekend.
I mean, not only is it a must-win convincingly, it's a flat-out must-win. If you don't win this game, Kentucky's in the driver's seat for the East, and then you have to play catch-up, which you haven't had to do since 2020, and that didn't go well for you. So I think it's just a flat-out must-win game.
Shouts out Kyle Trask.
I think this is a good opportunity for Georgia this week to win convincingly because you have everything going for you already. It's a night game. It's in your home stadium. You have all that going for you. But also that you have the opportunity to win this game and the type of style of football that you have defensively in years past where it was a team wanted to come in there and run the football on you and you just said no all game long and you shut that down real quick and you get out of the building 31-10 or something like that because you just absolutely shut them down in what they wanted to do. So it's a big opportunity for Georgia. I would call it that.
I want to go ahead and get this out here. I've already done it on the local hour to an extent, but I want to hammer it home. I think Devin Leary's bad. Like, not even like – I don't want to be too hot on this take because he comes out and is like really good this weekend and it'll make me look stupid, but I think he's bad. I think he's inconsistent. I think he's inaccurate, and I think he's going to turn the football over Saturday. So that's my prediction.
I mean, on the flip side as well, this is a must-win for Kentucky because you're never going to have another chance to take the East over like this. Like, you're a 5-0 team. Other than 2018, that was like the one where it's like, hey, if we win, we know we're taking the East. So this only comes around once every 5 seasons. So you gotta take advantage of your opportunity.
That, and it's one of the rare seasons where you have Georgia and Alabama on your schedule this year.
And both look vulnerable.
Yes.
To you.
Yeah.
You think they look vulnerable.
Yes.
I mean, they do look vulnerable at some point.
Yeah, they do. What else we got?
I've got Bama as a must-win. I mean, it's kind of an obvious must-win. You're on the road. Texas A&M's been talking shit to you. Not even that. If you lose, your playoff hopes are dead. You're not in control of the West anymore. So your season kind of relies on this win.
Murray was the first, and I consider Murray a national analyst, even though he comes on here and talks Georgia stuff, because he is a national guy. Murray's the first national guy I've heard talk about Georgia like everyone always talks about Alabama, where it's like, oh, tight game, they're going to win it. Like, Georgia's that now. It feels like that now. Alabama's lost that luster.
Yeah. They have.
They've lost it. And
they haven't won their tight games.
It's taken 18 months.
I mean, I would say it's taken over 3 seasons.
Yeah.
I think it started in 2021 with A&M.
Yeah.
They kind of won it back over when they beat Auburn, but then you lost the Natty.
Yeah.
2022, you lost to Tennessee, you lost to LSU, and this year you lost to Texas. You pulled it out against USF, but you shouldn't even have that. That game shouldn't even been competitive. So now it's kind of like, wait a minute. Alabama doesn't win these close games anymore. They don't always just find a way.
We did it against Ole Miss. We trusted them just because they're Bama. This week, because of the matchup, I don't know if I just feel comfortable just trusting Bama.
Yeah. And it's on the road.
It's on the road.
Kyle Field's probably one of the top 5 hardest places to play.
All right, we got 7 minutes left here on the hour. Should we do SEC quarterback rankings, or do we need to do anything else?
No, let's rip them.
All right, let's get after these quarterback rankings. Let's go 10 to 1. Actually, I don't even know if I have 10. Let's hear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I only have 8. I have 8 this week. I have 8 quarterbacks.
The other 4 suck.
Let's start with the OLI, outside looking in. I'm an A.J. Swan fan. I've been an A.J. Swan fan. Shouts out Cherokee County High School. Shouts out the state of Georgia. Shouts out
Go Chiefs.
Tony Ballard. Shouts out everybody, all right? Shouts out Sway, everybody, all right? But A.J. Swan had 3 interceptions last week. I think he threw it for 40 times. It was completed 16 to 40. It's not great. It's not all his fault either. It's just it's going down. It's going down bad, and I feel bad for him. It is what it is. So there's that. I thought he should have gone to Tech coming out of high school. That was my opinion. He was originally committed to Maryland.
Yeah,
I ended up flipping to Vandy. I always tried to. It was like, hey man, dude, like you'd rip at Tech, but
Haynes King be doing that thing.
Haynes King do be doing that thing. He got like 1,400 yards this year. Mm-hmm. But anyways, outside looking in, Joe Milton, you can join A.J. Swan. Joe Milton is the same Joe Milton and even Tennessee fans will tell you this. I only ranked 9 quarterbacks last week and put number 10. We don't have 10 good ones. And you know who didn't show up in my mentions? Tennessee fans. Y'all know why? Because they know Mans is 16 for 26 for $190 every week with maybe an interception or 3. Like, we were watching on the way home, and every drive I'm sitting there going, hey, Joe Milton due for a pick. Joe Milton due for a pick.
And it finally happened.
Red zone interception. Yeah, it was bad too. So Joe Milton, OLI. I got Jalen Milroe. We already talked about it. Mohamed Sanu at this point. Julian Edelman. Name a quarterback that turned into a receiver in college or in pro ball. That's what Jalen Milroe is right now. Okay, he is. If that guy ain't open, run right now. Just go. Don't even think about it. Will Rogers had 3 picks this week. It was bad. It was bad. It's not great. He's OLI. Now, here we go. Actual rankings. You know what? For the lack of creativity that's going on down there at Florida right now, the fact that Graham Mertz is not turning it over like abominably, like just absolutely rolling it out there every single time, I think that's fairly impressive, to be honest with you. So I got him at number 8. Max Johnson, I told you last week, believed in his abilities, thought he was a good to above average to potentially really good college football player. He's played that way through 1.5 games since Connor Weigman's got hurt. KJ Jefferson drops this week. I don't know what you expect Mans to do when you get sacked 7 times in a singular football game. It's a lot what we talked about with Spencer Rattler, but the problem with KJ is that there has been some turnover-prone issues, and we talked about last week. You can't keep turning the football over, and they're getting really, really different looks, and he's getting lit up pretty consistently. Brady Cook comes in at number 5 for me. Another guy I think is throwing for 500 yards a day or a game if they let him. If they didn't have to run the football to show any types of balance, Brady Cook's playing really, really well. I got Jackson Dart here at number 4. He had a great week this past week and has been that. I think he's going to consistently remain a top 3, top 4 quarterback for me throughout the year. We talked about last night, sneaky thick, okay, and gets asked to do a lot more than some of these other quarterbacks on the list. Now, we thought we knew, now we know. I think that is the overall consensus for Carson Beck for me. I got him at number 3 after what he did on the road this past weekend. The third down stats are absolutely insane. Okay, so I think Carson Beck is the 3rd best quarterback right now in the conference. He's playing that well. And all I needed, it looked great through 4 weeks. People kept asking, what's it going to take for Carson Beck to climb up these SEC quarterback rankings? My answer was no answer. I didn't have one. Okay, I stayed away from the topic. My answer was I needed to see it on the road. That was it. I felt like he was comfortable at home. You know, there was a couple of misses here and there. What's left for his progression? No more missing Oscar Delp on touchdown passes. No more missing on Jackson Meeks. And that is a unit progression, by the way. That is not just a Carson Beck thing. That is a continuity thing for this offense. So there's still room for growth there for him. I put Spencer Rattler down at number 2. So we do have a new number 1 football, quarterback ranking this week. It's really hard to sit here, though, and say that any of this, in terms of his decline in play from week 4 to week 5, had very little to do with Spencer Rattler, in my opinion. Okay, if you take out a 75-yard touchdown run that they led the second half with up at Tennessee this weekend, his football team averaged 2.19 yards per rush.
Nice.
He got sacked 6 times. They had 8 tackle for losses. I don't know what the hell you expect Mans to do. Okay, I really don't. And the fact that he's still out here competing, I didn't think it was that bad of a performance when we really watched it, when we sat down and evaluated it. Number 1, Jaden Daniels. I don't know how much more he could do besides, and this isn't an offense, okay? He is not out here dinking and dunking at all. They are driving the ball down the field. If you go just look through his highlight clips, there ain't no, slant, take it 60. Nah, dog. These are all, he took the slot fade and he threw it in a bucket to Malik Neighbors, touchdown. Oh, damn. Like, he threw that ball on that deep over, 20, 25 yards downfield, threw it in stride. There's a lot of NFL throws on the clips. And, again, they're not making it super easy for him. And this is the thing. This is the reason why. It's not just the 1,700 yards. It's not just the matching last year's touchdowns. In 5 games. He threw 17 touchdowns last year. He's got 16 through 5 games this year. So he is producing at an insane rate. But that's not why he's number 1 for me. It's part of the reason why. The main reason why he's number 1 for me is when I watch LSU, if I were to think about scheming up them and trying to prepare for them as a defense, his legs scare me more than anybody else as a ball carrier on the entire roster. When I watch them, the one that takes my breath away when he pulls the ball down is 5. Nobody else scares me on that roster after the catch or after the run or when I hand them the ball off. And guess what? I don't lean on stats. I lean on film. I lean on stats to confirm what I think I see on film. If you took out the sack yardage right now for Jaden Daniels, he has 343 rushing yards on the year on 51 carries. He's averaging 6.7 yards per carry. That put him about 4th in the SEC right now in yards per carry. Jaden Daniels, number 1 quarterback in the SEC right now. Thoughts, boys?
I like the Jaden Daniels ranking.
I
I think he has played as the best quarterback in the conference now. You know, it's a little shaky maybe a little bit to start out, especially because Spencer Rattler was playing his nuts off at the beginning of the year.
That's a great way to put it. He would play his nuts off.
He was, and but now we're later in the season. I think Jaden Daniels has emerged as the top-ranked quarterback, and I think Carson Beck definitely deserves some love after last week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised you finally came off Spencer Rattler, but I agree. I think Jaden Daniels has the most raw skill, and he's putting it to the most use. It's just unfortunate that he doesn't have a defense playing for him.
To my South Carolina homies out here, I saw some stuff because, you know, we got some ties to the South Carolina space and all that good stuff, but I see it sometimes on my social media. To the South Carolina homies out here that was all talking about, ain't nobody showed Spencer love, and then he finally said something post-game, and now everybody's shitting on him again. I'm going to let you know you've been in college football 5 years. You've done a whole hell of a lot of press conferences. You should not sound like a whipped baby after the game talking about, oh, well, this was their Super Bowl, so congratulations to them. Man, come on, dog. There's been and I think even Spencer would tell you this, there has been so much maturation and progress in that dude's career from who he was on Netflix QB1 to who he is now. That was a step back for him, and I think he would agree with that. And I am one of those guys that, like, all of it matters, okay? Everything you say matters. Everything you do matters at that position. I think he would have taken that back, and I think it's warranted of the criticism, but it's also been he's been warranting a lot of praise for his play that he did not get, but he got a fair share of criticism this past week after that. Hey, appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, and review. I love you. We'll see you tomorrow.